Okay, I'm now going to show you how I've used conditional formatting in the past for a client of ours to create a table showing the traffic light for each candidate's potential and performance measures across each competency. Now in this dataset, I originally showed you a video of using a pivot table to look at how many people were promoted per department per year from 2012 onwards. And I was predominantly using this part of the dataset. Towards the right-hand side, we actually have some assessment data for each candidate. The first part of the table, for each of the 9 competencies that you can see in the headings above, there is a score indicating their performance measure across that competency that was assessed on the day. Further towards the right-hand side, you have a list of the same 9 competencies, but a measure of potential. And this was looked at through the psychometrics, the APQ and ability test. Further towards the right-hand side, we have an indication of each individual's total performance score. Now this is simply a sum of all of the performance measures across the 9 competencies, indicated further to the left of the table. We also have a total potential score, which is a sum of the potential measures across all 9 competencies. We also have a column indicating the number of competencies in the benchmark. Benchmark in this instance is 3. 3 is indicating at least meeting expectations for average performance. Now, for the number of competencies that met benchmark, this would be looking at the performance measures and not the potential measures. And this would be considering all of the competencies out of the 9 in which they received 83 or higher. Okay? So with this information, our client didn't like the look of so many numbers, and they were a big fan of our traffic light system, which was green, amber, and red. Most of these values can be changed to indicate that accordingly. 3 would be amber, indicating moderate future potential or moderate performance across the assessment centre or meeting expectations. 2 and 1 would be below expectations or below average performance or measures of potential. 4 and 5, in both instances again, exceeding expectations or above average performance or measure of potential. For the 4 and 5, we would be having a green traffic light circle. As I mentioned, 3 is yellow and 2 and 1 would be red. Now to indicate that for each candidate, I've actually created a separate table. I wanted to keep the data set in place without manipulating it too much in case any editing or additional candidates needed to be added. So let's switch across to this. Now, I've already done this ahead of time for the sake of demonstration. I'll just simply explain the layout. You have on the left-hand side the candidate ID. You have all 9 competencies listed across the top. And for each competency, a separate section, one being the performance measure and one being the potential. Now all of this information is coming straight out of the data set. There are no formula, they're simply linked to the accompanying table. You could use a lookup function to actually look up this value following from the candidate ID. But for simplicity, we've just simply replicated the previous data set into here so that we can manipulate it. Now to use the traffic light system, the easiest way to do this, or to represent these numbers as a traffic light, is to use conditional formatting. So to do this, we'll simply select the information that we actually want to apply the conditional formatting to. So once you've selected that, if you go up into the home ribbon, you can see conditional formatting here. If you click that, I would suggest going to Manage Rules. This is where you can see all of the conditional formatting you've applied to the entire sheet that you're working on. From there, you can select New Rule. Now, for the traffic light system, what we want to be doing is based on the value in the cell or the actual number in the cell, we want to then highlight and show a different traffic light. So what we're going to select is based on their value. Now, rather than having a color scale, we're going to change the format to an icon. So if you click the arrow and go to icon sets, it will automatically change to the traffic light system. The trick is now inputting the values in which it can then change to green, amber, and red based on the values you have in your cell. Now the first thing to change is here under type. At the moment it's set to percentage. Now we want to actually change that to number for both. Now we need to look at whether or not or what our criteria is going to be in which it's going to be either a green, amber, or red traffic light. So, if we have a look at this, when is the value going to be green? It's going to be whether or not it's equal to or greater than 4. For this one here, when we're looking at yellow or the amber traffic light, we also want it to be amber when it's less than 4, but also greater than or equal to 2. Red when it is less than 1. As you can see, it will automatically change. Now you have an option here, and it's always important to have a look at this. If you were simply to click OK right now, each value in the cells will be represented by the number accompanied by the traffic light. You can keep it as it is and click OK, or you can have show icon only, which will mean that the traffic light is the only thing that appears in each cell rather than the number 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'm going to go with that, so I'm going to click now OK. You can see here that the rules have now been applied to a particular range. I'm happy with this, so I'll click OK. As you can see, all of the original values that are drawn from the data set for each candidate across each competency is now to be represented by a traffic light.